So we're going to be having a look at mini roundabouts. I've been discussing this with my students recently, and this is the thing where I think they struggle quite a lot. Even when they've done them for quite a while, they say that they struggle with certain bits like getting the timing right. So our video today is going to be looking at mini roundabouts with 3 lots of traffic approaching. When I mean 3 approaching, can you see here, look, we've just got 3 roads meeting at the mini roundabout. Now you get a warning sign of a roundabout telling you that you need to give way to the right. All mini roundabouts have that, but they might do if it's somewhere where it's a little bit hidden. That one will be in advance, but right on top of the roundabout, it will have the mini roundabout sign. You see on the photo here where they've actually got a give way sign also above the mini roundabout sign. If like here you've got a road on your right, just to highlight it a little bit more, quite often they will put that sign, but not on every roundabout. The roundabout is marked by a white disc. Now sometimes that's raised, that's more likely to encourage you to go round it. Sometimes they can be flat, and that's more likely to be somewhere where it's difficult to get all the way around it. If there isn't enough room, you may have to partially or fully drive over the top. So let's talk about positioning on the approach. Some approaches don't have any lanes. What they'll have maybe is just enough room for one vehicle to fit there, and if they do, just stay central in your section. Some might not actually have any lanes, but the road might be wide enough for 2 vehicles to fit next to each other when they arrive at the mini roundabout. And if that's the case, I would say to keep to the left if you're turning left and keep to the right if you're turning to the right. Generally, I would say to keep to the left if you're going ahead, but I will talk a little bit about that in a minute. But if they do have lanes, like I've just marked on here, make sure you take up the correct lane for the direction that you're going to turn. Keep central in your lane. If I was going ahead at this roundabout, I would take up the right-hand lane if it had a lane, or keep to the right. But if I was doing it on this one, I would keep to the left. The right-hand lane or positioning to the right would be for turning right. Always keep a lookout for road markings or road signs that might tell you what lanes you need. So let's see how they work. First of all, we know that we give way to the traffic on our right. In this example, we're going to look at the vehicle coming in from the bottom turning left. First thing it needs to do is look to the right to see if there's anything to give way to. If there was nothing on the right, you just carry on onto the roundabout. If you look to the right and the vehicle on your right has an indicator onto the left like this, they're going to turn left. And if they're turning to the left, they won't affect you, so you can proceed onto the roundabout. Be careful in case there's lanes or there's enough room for a vehicle to get beside them on the right, maybe a motorcycle. If the vehicle turning left is very quick, a vehicle following that's going ahead still could be somebody that you need to give way to. It's all to do with the timing, the speed of those vehicles. So if the vehicle from the right is going ahead, then you would have to give way. If they're going ahead, they won't have an indicator on. So some vehicles from the right may have a right indicator on. What are they doing if they have that on? Some people might have their right indicator on, but actually go ahead. Now that is incorrect signalling, but we know they're coming past us, so we must give way. If somebody's coming from right with an indicator on, you should assume that they're going to be doing a U-turn. And it would be somebody that you would have to give way to. So if you have somebody coming from the right that you have to give way to, you want to start looking to the left here to see if you have a cover. So what do I mean by a cover? The vehicle on our right that we're giving way to is going to give way to their right, which in this particular case is the yellow car. If the yellow car has no indicator on and goes ahead, the car on your right will proceed onto the roundabout. In this scenario, the yellow car wouldn't be a cover. If the yellow car has an indicator onto the right, that silver car on our right will be giving way to it. Now, as that vehicle starts to move on, there will be a point where it will start to create a cover. It will create a shield between you and that vehicle on the right, and that will allow you then to pull out. So by not only looking to the right, looking to the left for that cover, as it starts to come around and that vehicle on the right stops, that's your opportunity to go. Sometimes that cover might be travelling at speed, and it might be that you're not quite quick enough to use that cover, and if that's the case, wait. Here's the next problem. That vehicle that you think is going to be a cover might be doing a U-turn. As with proceeding through any junction, keep double checking all the time, because he will go from being a vehicle that covers you to somebody that you need to give way to. Might be travelling a lot slower because it could be very fiddly to get round in the U-turn. It could be positioning far more to the left because it needs that swing to get around that roundabout, but keep double checking. Go back to looking at covers. If we were coming from the bottom here and had a left indicator on, the vehicle on our left wouldn't have had to give way to us and therefore would have pulled out and created us a cover. If we didn't have an indicator on though and we were going ahead, this would create a stalemate. I'll talk about that later. Let's look at it from another angle. So if we were coming up from the bottom here, the vehicle on our right, turning right, would be the vehicle we would give way to. But if the oncoming car was coming straight ahead, that would create a cover. But if the oncoming car had a left indicator on, which it has here, the vehicle on our right wouldn't need to give way to them. So therefore, they wouldn't create us a cover. The vehicle on the right would just pull straight out. Another thing to watch out for is a stalemate. That's where everybody has to give way to everybody. On this diagram, everybody has somebody that they have to give way to, but everybody also has a cover. In this scenario, it will just be the first one to make its move. So if this silver car on the right here starts to move, then the vehicle coming from the bottom would wait. Sometimes though, all three try to move at the same time, so it can be confusing. So now let's look at some driving clips, looking at some of the examples we spoke about. First off, let's take a look at this one. There's a vehicle coming from the right with a right indicator on, so we have to give way. Oh, and they've done a U-turn. So first off, notice the warning sign of the roundabout, and our traffic on the right is the traffic that's actually coming towards us. None of the vehicles have indicators on, which means they're going ahead, so we can proceed. Look here where the lorry creates the most perfect cover. It's a nice long cover, but we've manoeuvred around nicely. Now take a look at this one. The oncoming cars again are the vehicles that we need to give way to, but there's none turning to their right, and the Mini here on the left has to give way to us because we're on their right. Let's talk about timing. There's going to be a red van in a minute that you would think was most probably going to create a cover, but he's a little bit too ahead of us. And if we'd started to proceed on as he was coming on and there was a vehicle from the right, we would have been caught out. Again, on this one, the oncoming car is on our right, and because they're going straight, we wouldn't need to give way. So watch the car in front of me because they have to give way to the first car that's coming around from the right. But when the second one goes straight ahead, they can proceed onto the roundabout. And by the time I get there, there's still nobody to give way to. The vehicle on my right was going ahead. Take a look at the next one. There's a vehicle just turning left there, so the vehicles that are up in front of me would have been able to proceed, but all these other ones that are coming in from the right, they would be waiting for. Now, watch when the last white car here comes in from the right and then a four-wheel drive comes straight ahead from the opposite side. That's the perfect cover for one of the cars up in front of me to use that. Again here, a lovely big long vehicle that creates a cover. I mean, that could be the equivalent of maybe 3 cars. Now on this one, as I come up, you can see that the vehicles opposite me are coming from my right. We have to give way and we're going to wait for a cover. There's a nice little one there and round we go. Always remember, if it is busy, get the car down in first gear, get your car ready to go. Now here's the exact same roundabout on a different day. You can see as we're coming up, we're waiting to give way to somebody from the right, and then that would have been our gap to go. But notice, even when we start to move, Mr. FedEx decides that he's still going to go. So obviously he should have given way to the right. And this highlights why you always really need to keep double checking, even to the people who are supposed to be giving way to you. So what not to do with mini roundabouts? Never, like the red van and the black van, pull on and block traffic because cars coming from the right can't get onto the roundabout. You look at the red car, blocking any oncoming cars if they did want to come straight ahead. Here's how you should do it. Look at the red vehicle on the right holding back. They're not entering and blocking it, which means that all of us that don't want to go the same way as the red truck don't get held up. So don't enter and block other traffic. I mentioned my learners said that they struggle with getting the timing right for their covers. Can you see there's lots of vehicles from the right, but when I see the cover starting to come from the left, gassed, by, and on we go. Always be ready. Now, although this isn't the same sort of cover as I was talking about earlier, can you see how that bus creates a shield and allows us to pull on? Looking early is really important, and sometimes you can't necessarily see to the right, but you can see your covers coming from the left lining up for you. So make sure that you look early so that, like that white car, you can use it. Now, I am going to do a separate video about where 4 roads meet, but on this particular one here, there's 3 roads meeting, but a petrol station on the right. That means that I have to give way to the white car that's coming from the right, from the petrol station, and also the cars that are opposite that will be coming from my right. This can cause a lot of confusion, so that's why I'm going to do a separate video. The highway code says to avoid doing U-turns at a mini roundabout. Now, I definitely think that they're dodgy moves. I'm going to make a totally separate video on that, but that can cause problems. Now, no matter what the rules are in the highway code, you're always going to have people on the road at the same time as you that don't want to follow the rules. Some of them are driving company vehicles, so they don't pay for the insurance. It will be their company that has to forfeit on the insurance if they have an accident. Some of these vehicles can be large vehicles that are going to be bullying. And I'm not talking about the vehicle in front. Watch what happens here where I turn left and then I have to take up the right-hand lane at the next roundabout, which is what I need to go ahead. Look how the vehicle just comes round there. And then let me show you what CSH Environmental Limited did on the approach to that roundabout. He pulled out of the supermarket behind. I was driving the car and he took up the left-hand lane. Everybody was stuck in a queue, but then the vehicle decides that he wants to go in the right-hand lane. So watch what he does. He goes into the right-hand lane, which is for turning right because the arrows make it very clear. I've got the indicator onto the left, and then watch what happens. He turns left, and that's why he then ends up in my lane. Imagine that if I wasn't watching and he's doing it incorrectly, he could have written my car off. So always watch out for these sort of people that don't care about anybody else on the road at the same time. They're just going to pick whatever lane is the easiest and quickest to go through, whether it's the correct one or not. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give us a like. If you have any questions at all, pop them in the comments below. Finally, thanks for watching.